Well, hello and welcome to another edition of the Lanzarote News and Weather. I'm Mike from Lanzarote Information. And today, as usual, we'll be covering the latest news and weather from the island of Lanzarote, but we'll also be talking about three things you could be doing if you're on the island next week. And that's the segment right at the end, where I just select three random things that I'm interested in doing over the next 7 days or so on the island. We'll talk about the useful Spanish phrases which up until now I've been doing in the middle of each of these news segments, and I've got something different to talk about with you today. So let's kick off by discussing the weather. It's been kind of weird, as it has pretty much all year so far. Just kind of feels slightly out of sync here in Lanzarote at the moment. Normally September is our favourite month for weather. It's absolutely beautiful, but September was a bit hit and miss. We had some very hot weather. We had calimas. We even had a little bit of rain, and it feels like we've just moved this week into, and obviously we're in October now, but it feels like we've just moved into the normal kind of September run of weather. We've had some beautiful sunrises and sunsets over the last week or so, and a lovely, lovely day. We had a day out on a boat on Wednesday and thoroughly enjoyed it. Light winds, blue skies, and that's what we've got now, actually, a few white fluffy clouds around. So it feels like October is the new September, and the forecast looks good for the next few weeks here in Lanzarote. So let's move on with the news now, and we're moving into cruise season, certainly in Arrecife, where we can have up to 3 cruise ships docked at any one time. In October we are expecting 22 cruise ships, and it's really the start of the season here, so there are two things happening in the month of October. A lot of the ships that are normally based in the Mediterranean are now moving down to the Canaries to be touring the Canaries and Madeira, and in some cases Morocco as well, through the winter months, because our weather is so much better than it is in the Mediterranean. But what we're also picking up at this time of year is the ships that are repositioning to the Caribbean, to Miami, and to South America as well. So we've got quite a lot coming in over the next month or so, as I say, 22 in total. There are two particularly interesting ones I wanted to pick up on, and these are, they're called explorer ships, and these are ships that boutique, high-end, very, very luxurious ships that do kind of exploration cruises in South America, in the case of these two. And we have two calling in. One's calling in on the 6th of October, the other on the 9th of October. The first is called World Explore, and the second is called World Travel. That's Tarvelle. Both of these ships have Rolls-Royce hybrid propulsion systems, and they're super economical and eco-friendly as well. They only accommodate 200 passengers each, so that's what I mean by high-end kind of boutique cruising, and they've got 170 crew, so there's almost as many crew aboard as passengers. So I'm certainly going to head down either on the 6th or the 9th to Arrecife just to catch a glimpse of one of these and see what these ships look like. You may want to do the same. I've been giving the good news out pretty much all year that unemployment has been steadily falling here on the island. Spain's economy is doing really, really well currently, and it continued again in September, and that means that this year to date the number of unemployed on the island has fallen by around 8%. So a significant number, and we certainly are in a position now where it's a buyer's market in the jobs market. In other words, people are able to move around relatively easily, and the employers are the ones who are having to work hard to recruit the right staff. And one of the things I love on the island is the Manrique wind toys that you'll see on roundabouts all over Lanzarote. And my favourite, because we live in the north, is the one on Arrieta roundabout, which, I mean, not only looks beautiful, but it also is a really useful gauge of the direction of the wind and also the speed of the wind. It's a really, really clever design, and Manrique designed it using the axle from an old truck. It went away a few months ago for a full refurbishment. It was put back up a couple of weeks ago and is broken already. So obviously the people doing the restoration, they're doing something wrong. They're not following Manrique's original choice of materials, because if they had done so, it would have lasted like 20 to 30 years as it did last time before it needed refurbishing. But it is being repaired. The repair has already been authorised. So hopefully that will be back up and running normally very, very quickly. It's only one element that's gone, so it is still there, it is still working, but it's missing one of its veins that give you such a good idea of what the wind is doing. Next up on the news, and this is much, much needed, the road that runs through Famara is finally going to be refurbished, and it's well overdue. I mean, that road does take a pounding because of the wind and the sand that blows across it, but nevertheless it's one of the main cycle routes on the island, and whenever I cycle on it I have my heart in my mouth because I'm waiting to drop into a pothole or skid on the sand that's blown across the road. That's getting a full, it's the LZ 402, by the way. That's getting fully resurfaced at a cost of around €420,000. The project's going to take about 2 months from start to finish, and they should be getting underway in the next couple of weeks or so. So that's really good news. And the road the other way out of Arrecife, out of Famara, that runs towards So was done fairly recently, and it's absolutely beautiful. It's a joy to cycle that, or indeed to drive it. So hopefully this will be done to the same standard. Now, normally at this point in the news bulletin I do my useful Spanish word or phrase of the week, but I've decided I'm going to stop it. We've been doing it for over a year now, and if you've been following this news bulletin for a year, and if you haven't, you can go back through the videos and do so, we've covered all of the basics that you need to be able to use the phrase get a bit of Spanish over the net and ask for the things you need to ask for. And I'm not a language teacher, and I don't want to move into more complicated areas like how to conjugate verbs and use tenses and all those kind of things. I'm going to leave that to the experts. If you do want to learn more Spanish and better Spanish, if you're a regular visitor, or indeed if you live here, and you really will find that your life is changed when you can speak, when you can have a conversation with your neighbour about the football or what's happening at the weekend or what you've been doing, then I would highly recommend you get yourself some Spanish lessons. And a good friend of ours has started a new language academy on the island based in San Bartolome called Speakeasy. I'll put their logo and their phone number and contact details up on the screen for you. Get in touch with Lara. She will be able to help you, take you to the next stage of Spanish, and she can do it online or however suits you. So those are the details, and do get in touch with Lara. Okay, let's move on with the news. Last weekend, 500 swimmers did the travesía across the Rio. That's the swim from Lanzarote to La Graciosa. It went off beautifully. It sounds like it was a really good day. The current wasn't too strong. Everyone got across safely, and then they enjoyed the party and the paella afterwards. So well done to all of those. And Julie and I decided, we've done this event a few times, that we're definitely going to try and sign up for it next year because it's such a good fun event. Now, Puerto del Carmen, as you know, was the first tourist resort here in Lanzarote, and over the next 12 months it's going to be celebrating 60 years as a tourist resort. And that's because in 1966, in October 1966, the Hotel Farallones opened its doors and became the first sort of tourist hotel in the resort of Puerto del Carmen back in 1966. So we're now in October 2025. Over the next 12 months there will be various celebrations of 60 years as a tourist destination that will take place, culminating in the big celebration in October next year to celebrate the 60th anniversary. It's amazing to think that 60 years ago Puerto del Carmen was just the tiny little harbour of La Tiñosa. The Farallones was built quite near to it. A few years later, the San Antonio was built, but there was nothing between them. The strip just didn't exist. There were beaches and a dirt road, basically. And now we have the very mature and beautiful resort of Puerto del Carmen, just 60 years later, within my lifetime, as I like to say. Okay, finally, on the news front, the Cabildo have given, in their words, they've given the green light to a new taxi app, which is called taxilanzarote.net, and they hope, again, in their own words, that the taxi cooperatives on the island and the municipalities which control those taxi cooperatives will choose to use the new service. And the idea behind this taxi app is that it will allow taxis from different municipalities to be called to pick people up in areas outside their normal area of operation when it's busy, for example, at the airport or at the cruise port. The idea behind it is also that you'll be able to summon a taxi through the app, and finally you'll be able to put your credit card in, as you do with Uber, credit or debit card, and pay for a taxi journey in advance of the taxi arriving to pick you up. Now, I've been using air inverted commas a lot because I really don't see the appetite from the taxi cooperatives to start using this service. I think they're quite resistant to any kind of change. I think the municipalities tend to support the taxi drivers, and they also are resistant to any kind of change. So we'll see if they pick it up. If they do, that'll be great, and we'll have a 21st century taxi service on the island, but I have a feeling that isn't going to happen. And maybe this is just the first step in a battle to drag them screaming and kicking into the 21st century. Let's see what happens. So let's talk about 3 things you could be doing if you're here over the next week or so. And what I wanted to do with this first one is highlight some of the smaller fiestas that go on the island. Some of you may never have heard of the village of El Cuchillo, which is near Tinajo, but it is their fiesta time, and their fiesta time is running from the 23rd of September all the way through to the 12th of October. And there are all kinds of events going on. I mean, for example, Saturday the 4th, there's a kids workshop experience, there's dancing, there is a tribute to men, whatever that is. On Sunday there's a football championship, a kids football championship. There's a workshop, infants workshop, using puppets. So there's stuff going on pretty much every single day. And at all of these small village fiestas, there are things like this, and they're well worth visiting to really understand the culture and these villages of Spain in general, Lanzarote in particular. So you'll find details on that if you go to lanzaroteinformation.co.uk, click the button at the top of the page that says what's on, and then you'll be able to look at all of these programs in detail, and you can see all of the stuff going on at the fiesta in 2025 in El Cuchillo. Now, while we're talking about fiestas, I'm going to talk about the one in Costa Teguise, which has been running for some time. But the fiestas generally end with a really big party called a verbena, and Costa Teguise's verbena is Saturday night. For some of you watching this, that's tomorrow. For most of you watching this, that's today, Saturday the 4th of October. And the verbena, the end of fiesta party, kicks off at 10:30 in the evening. There is a DJ called Javi Fajardo and a group called Código who are playing, Código 4, Código 4, who are playing, and the location is the main car park in Costa Teguise on the Avenida del Mar, and that will go on until late, and there will be chiringuitos selling food and drink there, and obviously the bars along that car park will also be open. But the verbena is always the really big event to mark the end of fiesta. So if you're in Costa Teguise or even nearby and want to drive into it or get the bus into it, that'll be a very, very good evening to enjoy. And finally, next Friday, the 10th on things to do is the last night of Arrecife en Vivo. And this is the live music event that takes place over 4 consecutive Fridays in the capital. And the last night of this is always a big one, big celebration. Everybody goes along to it. And it kind of kicks off at around 6 p.m. in the evening at the Islote de la Fermina, where there is a DJ playing and music going on. It then moves around, so it's kind of a mobile event, moves around to the Parque Islas Canarias, which is alongside the beach, main beach in Arrecife, and from there it moves on with a band, so you can kind of follow the band who are drumming their way through the streets of Arrecife. It moves on at 9 o'clock to the marina, to Marina Lanzarote, and then it finally finishes up in the cruise port, where there are 2 big acts, Mando Diao and a DJ called Virginia Diaz. And then there are all kinds of artists parading through the streets. So that's the 10th of October. Be in Arrecife from 6 p.m. until very, very late. So there you go, that's this week's news. I hope you've enjoyed that. If you found it useful, please give us a like. If you've got any questions, just pop them in a comment below. I read all of the comments and I'm always happy to answer them. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll be back same time next week, Saturday morning. For those of you who read the newsletter, Friday afternoon. Bye for now, everyone. Bye.